What is your favorite moment you've ever captured with your camera? Is it a sweeping drone shot? Epic sunset? Is it funny? Is it sad? Does it feel larger than life? I know it's a really hard question to answer. There are so many shots that I've taken over the past couple years that I have just held on to for so long, so close to me for so many different reasons. But there's one shot in particular that really stands out for me. And even though it's over 3 years old now, it still continues to sneak its way onto my reel. Yes, it's an epic, aesthetically pleasing shot, but there is so much actually jammed into what this shot really means for me. 3 years ago, my girlfriend Anna and I dropped everything and went on a month-long road trip around the entire United States. So we had been doing 2 years of a long-distance relationship at this point, barely ever getting to see each other. And while at the same time, Anna was struggling with some really rough mental barriers at this point. Things were just starting to get worse and worse for Anna, just mentally, just like it was becoming a lot for her to deal with, for me to help her with. So we just said, screw it, hopped in my Jeep, and we just left. So for 30 days, we drove around in my Jeep with nowhere to be, no obligations, and slept in the back of my Jeep. But to this day, it's still the best experience both of us have had in our entire lives. I actually made a video about the entire trip back when, so you can check that out after you watch this video. But yeah, we were in Arches National Park. I set up my camera on a tripod, sprinted around to the other side of this giant rock formation. Took me forever to get up there. I was winded, got the shot that I wanted, ran all the way back around. Luckily, no one stole my camera. The entire length of the clip was like 28 minutes long. But as Anna and I were standing up there, it really felt like for the first time since we have known each other that it was finally just us. Still to this day, just like one of my favorite moments I've ever had. But you know what's one thing that doesn't stand out about this moment? The gear that I used to create it. Like, I literally never think about it once. So maybe you have, or maybe you haven't noticed that I try very hard to not talk much about gear on this channel, and that is very intentional. It's not that I don't value gear in certain situations, or I don't want to talk about gear, or I'm not excited about the new camera tech that's coming out like everyone else. Like, I genuinely want to talk about gear on this channel, but there's a reason that I have to hold back from doing so. The reason being is because I know just how impressionable I was as a young filmmaker in the YouTube environment. In my early days, I thought I needed what the bigger creators had in order to make the types of videos that they were making. I used to say to myself, if I could only have that camera, I'd be able to make my footage look just like that. But then in reality, I entered this vicious cycle of going into debt, trying to buy $6,000 cameras and drones and all this stuff that didn't make my work look any better than the equipment that I had had previously. I kept saying to myself, oh, well, I just need this thing to add on to that. And it was just like the gear was never enough. So here's me being an old head for a quick second. We all need, including me, need to reframe how we think about gear on YouTube. I get it, gear is fun to talk about. As filmmakers, we obviously need gear. There's YouTubers who make a living out of talking about gear, and that's incredible, it's amazing. Like, I'm not knocking those people at all. Like, I wish I could talk more about gear on my channel and make money doing it because it's cool, it's fun to talk about. But I entered filmmaking through YouTube. And I know as many of you are young filmmakers, you're entering this YouTube environment, getting the impression that you need to invest more in the gear than investing more into gaining the experience and knowledge of the actual art of filmmaking itself. And here's a good example of why that's a very scary situation to walk into. Say you want to be the world's greatest guitarist. You spend all your precious time, day and night, researching, asking questions, figuring out what the very best guitar is that you can buy. Like, you refuse to start practicing until you get that perfect guitar in your hands. This camera needs to sound the best. So you go with the top of the line Martin guitar, and she is a beauty. A year of your life has gone by. You finally get this guitar in your hands, but now it's time to walk out onto that stage in front of a large crowd. You walk out there with your shiny new guitar. You adjust that mic accordingly. You take a deep breath. You go to wail on the strings, and it sounds like absolute trash. Like, you are terrible at playing the guitar. You get booed off stage, your confidence is shot, you never want to look at a guitar again, and now you have this $15,000 piece of decor hanging up in your living room. So now here's the alternative scenario. You stumble upon this old guitar while scavenging through your grandpa's attic. It's not perfect, but when you brush off the dust and you tune it up a little bit, it sounds pretty good. You spend all your time learning chord progressions and learning scales. You took the time to learn to love the process. A year goes by, it is now time for you to walk out onto that stage in front of that crowd. You walk out there with your old guitar and your calloused fingers. You sit down, you adjust the mic, you go to strum, and you play beautifully. The crowd erupts, they stand up, standing ovation on your very first performance. So the only thing that these two scenarios have in common is that the audience didn't care what guitar you were playing with. The audience cared what you were able to create with your guitar. Your camera is a tool, so the best thing that you can do is invest your time learning how to make the most out of the tools that you already have at your disposal. And I promise you, the fancy gear will come as you continue to grow throughout your career. But there is no gear that will create a shortcut for you to bypass all the necessary steps that it takes to become a great filmmaker. So to everyone who has emailed me and sent me direct messages on Instagram or messaged me on the comments on YouTube, like, I'm sorry, but I cannot recommend what camera you should buy. Like, your situation is very unique to you. I don't know what you want to be shooting, what your goals are, what your financial situation is. I don't know how much time you've taken already to invest in the knowledge and experience of filmmaking. But I do know that the one thing that I absolutely feel comfortable recommending to you is to stop thinking and spending time on what camera you should be upgrading to and start learning how to get the most out of the camera that you already have. But yeah, just to reiterate, this video isn't me saying I'll never talk about gear again on this channel. I have in the past, and I probably will in the future because it's fun to talk about. But like, if you're a young filmmaker, come here. Move in a little bit. You do not need what I use and what I talk about in order for you to make incredible videos. Make the most out of what you have right now. So yeah, ask yourself, what is the greatest moment that I've ever captured? And then think about, did it really matter what camera I used? Thank you for watching as always, and I love you.